No gold is not in her. She's a dime.
Welcome to another exciting edition of the Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Papergoy. Today we're going to talk about the new eBay fees. They've been implemented on people that are going into managed payments. We did have that question in the past because I did a video where I was not in managed payments yet, and I was wondering whether it would be implemented or not, but I guess because I'm on the sign-up list, they ended up giving it to me. You can check this yourself by going to your dashboard, and you'll see down there where they list, your anchor store listings and all that stuff. There is a listing there of 75,000 items. Another really good thing, which I did have the question about how they were going to allocate. At this point, I checked it first thing this morning, and I had 10,000 anchor store listings, and I had used 2 of them. I had 75,000 other collectibles type listings, the listings that can go in the books, the magazines, the collectibles, and I had used 7 of them already. So it looks like they're allocating them wisely, which would be the way that I would choose to do it as well. In other words, they're not just using the first 10,000 through your anchor store and then going 75,000, but they're taking a look at it, and if it meets one of those category criteria, they're taking it out of the 75,000. If it doesn't, they're taking it out of the 10,000, which actually is definitely to our benefit. Definitely is, because if they did it the other way, depending on when things are ending and all that sort of thing, it could end up costing you money. So they actually did something very nice the way they programmed it to keep our costs down, which is always a good thing. But now I've got 75,000 listings to play with. I don't have time to list 75,000, but I can always dream that somehow or other magically I can snap my finger and get 75,000 items listed. And if you've got an anchor store, you've got that as well. If you've got one of the lower level stores, you may have 50,000 listings. There's going to be a lot more items put up on eBay. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I think as soon as people kind of digest what this means and figure out exactly what categories get it, I think there's going to be a lot of listings on eBay. Because if you think about it, the way things were, selling $5 to $7 postcards or $5 to $7 comic books really wasn't viable past a certain point. If you got 10,000 items in your store with your anchor store subscription, you list the 10,000. Now, is it worth listing one more comic book, a $5 comic book, when you're paying 5 cents a month? Doesn't seem like a lot, but if it's a slow-moving item, long-tail item, you're talking 60 cents a year. If it's something that takes 3 years to sell, you've paid $1.80 to sell something for $5. And every month you sit there and you see the nickel, you see the nickel, you see the nickel. And it kind of drains you, especially if you've got a lot of slow-moving products. Now you don't have that anymore because you've got the 75,000 items. So now you can go on, you can list a $5 or $7 or $8 postcard, and you don't really worry about how quickly it sells because it's not costing you anything extra. This, of course, takes into account the fact that eBay could change things sometime in the future, but hopefully they would give you enough notice. In other words, they don't lure you in and you list 75,000 postcards tomorrow, and then at the end of the year they say, oh, by the way, you owe a nickel an item after that. So we kind of have to hope that they don't end up changing anything, pulling the carpet out from under us on anything. But assuming that they aren't making any radical changes, this is a tremendous opportunity for you to grow your business. Take the time and figure out what lower priced items you had sitting around that you can list a lot of. Advertisements, or people out there that do advertisements. Maybe that's something or other that you've got a lot of them sitting around that you just have never gotten around to listing. Maybe, like I said, postcards, comic books. It is very important, though, that you do look at the categories, because I don't believe entertainment memorabilia is one of them, and there are a few other categories that aren't. I know sports memorabilia is, which I believe means that, not that you'd want to do this, but you could take your 1984 Fleer set and break it all up and list all 660 cards from it. Again, probably not worth your time to do so unless you have some kind of a program that could list them all. But there you go. That's 660 cards in that set you could have listed at $1 a piece, and it's suddenly viable to do it. Whereas in the past, paying a nickel per item, you'd lose tons of money on it. Because you have to wait for somebody to want a Lee Mazzilli card before you're able to sell it. Well, now if there's no fees, eventually somebody will want that Lee Mazzilli card. So I think it's going to really increase in categories like postcards, comic books, and sports cards. I think there's going to be a lot of competition. So what does that mean for you, and what does that mean for eBay? It means you need to stand out. Now, how are you going to stand out? Hopefully you get bounced up in search because you have a lot of positives, because people have a lot of good interactions with you. Hopefully you're able to draw people into your store where, let's say that you do have 10,000 postcards or 20,000 postcards now listed that you didn't before. Hopefully you're able to draw people into your store and they're able to find them that way. Or what I think eBay might be banking on is promoted listings. And I think it's time to take a second look at promoted listings. Certainly in categories that there historically has been a lot of competition. I just thought of auto magazines. I haven't looked, but I would bet that a June 1977 Road and Track, you probably could buy 6 to 8 to 10 of them on there, and that's with the current pricing system. Becomes viable to list those. Now you might find 15 to 20 of them. How are you going to stand out in the crowd? Well, you can compete on price, but some of us have higher cost structures than others, so we can't compete on price. You can be a specialist, so you're, car magazine seller on eBay, and you're going to make the sales that way. Or if you're just somebody casual out there trying to sell it, you're going to have to go promoted listings. I see no other way to make yours stand out in the crowd. Unless you really get high quality stuff, no mailing labels, and you're able to sit there and showcase that as well to the collector. Otherwise, you're going to end up with 8, 10, 15 of that one magazine on there with prices, from $7 to $20. How are you going to stand out? You need to use the promoted listings, as much as I hate to say it. And that might be what eBay's banking on in order to make up for the lost revenue that they're having. Because I know it's going to save me about $250 a month with the new structure. I can't argue with that. End of the year, that's $3,000 more in my pocket. If all of a sudden I start using promoted listings, maybe they end up getting $4,000 out of me. Now, of course, I only pay on promoted listings when something sells, so I'm happy about that as well. So it could be a virtuous circle where a lot more stuff gets listed, a lot more people use promoted listings, a lot more people come through shopping because there's a lot more of the items that they're looking for, especially on the lower end stuff that a lot of people were not bothering to list before. But you need to sit back, you need to take a couple of minutes and study the new fees, you need to take a look at the categories that are on there, and then you need to figure out what's going to work for you. But it is now viable to list lower priced items, and I think that's very, very important to keep in mind. Maybe you've got a photo album that, or snapshots that in the past you would have allotted together. Now perhaps a couple of good-looking snapshots out of there that you think you can get $5 to $7 a piece out of. Maybe now is the time to sit there and list those, especially now before everybody else figures this out. You're watching this, you're one of the first people to understand what's going to be happening. So maybe now's the time to get on and make the sale before everybody else kind of piles in and starts selling the stuff cheap. So hopefully you make a lot of money off that, and hopefully that's giving you a little bit of direction and what to think about for your business. And good luck to you, and we'll see you next video.